Okay, so now we are on the back page, this French seams method. And what a French seam essentially does is makes a nice finished edge. Basically, we're going to make this with our side and bottom seam. So to get that, we are going to put our wrong sides together, so the pretty sides facing up. This seems opposite of what we always do in sewing, but this is how we get that look. So we're just going to work with the side seam first. So matching up the band is really important. So I always do the top and the band first. And then if anything doesn't match up perfectly, you can always trim it up after you get it pinned. But I'm going to pin all the way down this whole side, and then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to sew it with a 1/4 inch seam, which is the edge of the presser foot is lined up with the edge of the fabric. Okay, so I have my side seam in my machine. I'm going to go ahead and backstitch and then sew all the way down this side. And then we're going to turn it out and give it a press before we sew it again. Okay, after you sew all the way down with that 1/4 inch seam allowance, our next step is going to be to turn it out. And then we're going to press this because we're going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance and kind of envelope that little seam that we just sewed inside of there for the finished edge. So a trick is to put this on the end of an ironing board and then just press that seam down to one side, and you'll do this all the way down. Just gonna open up that seam. My camera's kind of in the way, so I'm just gonna do the one part here for you. And then take your time on this part because it's important. We're going to line that up nice and flat. Press this right on the edge there. Put some pins in place here. And now we're going to go sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way down our side seam. Okay, so I just wanted to show you I'm all lined up with the second line of the throat plate again. I'm going to sew up this side seam one more time, and I'm going to be catching all of that first seam in the middle here. So we'll end up with this nice finished edge. So once again, we're going to sew forward and back stitch, and your thread is going to show. So take your time and do a nice straight line all the way down to the bottom.